Minjun's lips crashed against hers the moment the boardroom door slammed shut. Anifiak gasped, her back pressed against the cold glass window overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. His hand tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, desperate, hungry. "They think I can't stand," he whispered against her mouth, his other hand sliding down her waist. "They think I'm broken. Let them keep thinking that." Oni's heart hammered against her ribs as his lips traced her jawline. 3 weeks ago, she'd been scrubbing floors. Now she was kissing the most dangerous man in South Korea, and God help her, she didn't want to stop. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let me tell you how the invisible daughter became a queen. If you're ready for a story about betrayal, power, and the kind of love that burns down empires, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. And comment below where you're watching from because this story is going to take you on a wild ride. 18 months earlier, Anifiak Yudo's father died, and her life became a living hell. The penthouse in Gangnam had once echoed with her laughter. Now it only held Patricia's sharp voice and Grace's cruel giggles. Ani moved through the luxury apartment like a ghost, invisible, forgotten, reduced to nothing more than unpaid help. Anifiak, the floor in my bathroom isn't going to scrub itself. Patricia's voice cut through the morning silence. Ani's knees ached as she knelt on the cold tile, her hands red and raw from bleach. Through the open door, she could see Grace trying on another designer dress, the tag still attached. Her stepsister posed in the mirror, admiring herself while Ani's own clothes were threadbare and stained. "Do you think Minjun Park will like this one?" Grace asked her mother, twirling. "I need to look perfect for a man like that." Patricia circled her daughter like a vulture. "He's paralyzed from the waist down, darling. After that assassination attempt 3 years ago, they say he hasn't walked since. But he's still the head of the Park Syndicate. Marrying him will save us." Ani's hands stilled. She knew about the debt. Her father's import-export business had borrowed heavily from the Park family. When he died, the debt didn't disappear. It grew, festering like an infected wound, and now Patricia was offering Grace as payment. "A crippled gangster," Grace muttered, her face twisting with disgust. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Patricia snapped. "Your stepfather left us drowning in debt. The Parks want their money or a bride. You're going to be that bride, and you're going to smile while you do it." Ani made herself smaller, trying to disappear into the bathroom corner. But Patricia's eyes found her anyway. "You. Go make tea. The Park representatives will be here in an hour." The men who arrived wore expensive suits and cold expressions. Ani served them tea with trembling hands, keeping her eyes down, playing the role of the invisible servant. Jin Ho, Minjun's right-hand man, barely glanced at her as he laid out the terms. "Miss Grace Yudo will marry Minjun Park in 2 weeks. The ceremony will be in Busan. In exchange, your family's debt is cleared, and you receive a monthly allowance. Refuse, and we take everything, including this penthouse. We clear." Patricia nodded eagerly. Grace sat rigid, her face pale. After they left, Grace exploded. "I won't do it. I won't marry some paralyzed monster." "You will or we're dead," Patricia screamed back. But Grace had other plans. Ani discovered them 3 nights later when she went to collect laundry from Grace's room. Her stepsister was packing a bag, and sitting on her bed was David, a graduate student Grace had been secretly dating. "We're leaving for Japan tonight," Grace whispered to him. "She can't force me to marry him." Ani's breath caught. If Grace ran, what would happen to Patricia? What would happen to her? Grace's eyes snapped to the doorway. "You. What did you hear?" "Nothing," Ani lied, backing away. "Good. Because if you say one word, I'll make sure Mother throws you out with nothing. You understand?" Ani nodded and fled. By morning, Grace was gone. Just a note on her pillow. "I'm sorry, Mother. I can't do this." Patricia's scream woke the entire floor. She tore through the penthouse like a tornado, destroying everything in her path. When she finally stopped, her eyes landed on Oni. You. Patricia's voice went deadly quiet. You're going to take her place. What? No, I can't. Patricia's hand wrapped around Oni's throat, slamming her against the wall. You think you have a choice? You're nothing. No one. Your father left you nothing but his name, and even that's worthless now. You'll put on that wedding hanbok, you'll wear the veil, and you'll marry Min-jun Park. Or I swear to God, I'll make sure you disappear completely. Tears streamed down Oni's face, but she couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Do you understand me? Oni nodded, and Patricia released her. She collapsed to the floor, gasping. Good. Jin-ho will be here in 6 hours. Make yourself presentable. The makeup artists transformed her. They covered her calloused hands with lotion and her bruised cheek with foundation. They dressed her in Grace's wedding hanbok, layers of silk in deep crimson and gold. The traditional veil covered her face completely, hiding her identity, hiding her fear. Beautiful, Patricia said coldly. He'll never know the difference until it's too late. And by then, the debt will be cleared, and you'll be his problem. Jin-ho arrived in a black Mercedes. Oni climbed in, her legs shaking so badly she could barely walk. The drive to Busan took 4 hours. Oni watched the ocean appear through the window, remembering when her father had brought her to the beach as a child. He'd taught her to swim, told her she was strong enough to weather any storm. She didn't feel strong now. She felt terrified. The park estate rose from the coastal cliffs like a fortress. High walls, armed guards, security cameras everywhere. Jin-ho led Oni through corridors of dark wood and stone until they reached a traditional Korean receiving room overlooking the sea. Wait here, he said, then paused. For what it's worth, Min-jun isn't what people think. Before Oni could ask what he meant, the door slid open, and she was alone. Min-jun sat in a motorized wheelchair, his back to her, facing the floor-to-ceiling windows. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. For a long moment, he didn't move, didn't speak. Then, close the door. Oni obeyed, her heart in her throat. The wheelchair turned, and she saw him for the first time. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 30, with sharp features and eyes that seemed to see everything. Those eyes studied her veiled form with an intensity that made her want to run. Remove the veil, he said quietly. I want to see who they really sent. Oni's hands shook as she lifted the traditional covering. The moment her face was revealed, she saw his expression change. Not anger. Not disappointment. Something else. Recognition. You're not Grace Yudo, he said. No, her voice came out as a whisper. I'm Anifiak, her stepsister. Grace ran away, and Patricia forced me to take her place. I'm sorry. I know this isn't what you agreed to, and I understand if you're angry, but please don't hurt Patricia. She's cruel, but she's desperate, and... Stop. Min-jun raised his hand, and Oni's words died in her throat. Come closer. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she took 3 steps forward. Closer. She moved until she stood directly in front of his wheelchair, close enough to see the scar along his jawline, close enough to smell his cologne, something dark and expensive. I know exactly who you are, Anifiak Yudo, he said, his voice soft but lethal. I've known for 3 weeks. The world tilted. What? Did you think I wouldn't investigate the family I was doing business with? I know Patricia married your father for his money. I know she treated you like a servant after he died. I know Grace planned to run away with her boyfriend David Kim. He leaned forward slightly. I know everything. Oni's legs almost gave out. Then why? Why did I let this play out? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Because I wanted to see what Patricia would do. And I wanted to meet you. Me. But I'm nobody. You're the daughter of Michael Yudo, one of the few honest businessmen I've ever met. Min-jun's voice hardened. Your father came to me 6 months before he died. Said he'd uncovered evidence of a betrayal in my organization. He was going to give me names, but he died in a car accident before we could meet again. Oni's blood went cold. Car accident. They said it was a heart attack. They lied. Minjun's eyes locked onto hers. Your father was murdered, Anifiak. And I'm going to find out who killed him. But first, I need you to trust me. Trust you? I don't even know you. Then let me show you who I am. What happened next would replay in Oni's mind for the rest of her life. Minjun placed his hands on the wheelchair's armrests and stood up. Just stood up. Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Oni stumbled backward, her hand flying to her mouth. You can walk. I can run, fight, and do a lot of other things people think I can't. He took a step toward her, then another, moving with the grace of a predator. I was never paralyzed, Anifiak. The assassination attempt was real, but I used it. Let everyone think I was broken, weak. You'd be surprised what people say when they think you're not a threat. He was standing right in front of her now, tall and powerful, and nothing like the broken man the world believed him to be. Why are you telling me this? Her voice shook. Because you understand what it means to be underestimated. To be invisible. His hand reached out, gently tilting her chin up until she met his eyes. I've watched you, Anifiak. I've seen how you survived in that house. You're stronger than Grace could ever be. Smarter. More resilient. His thumb brushed her cheek, and Oni's breath hitched. I'm going to give you a choice your stepmother never did, Minjun continued. Marry me as an equal partner, help me find your father's killer, and take your rightful place in this world. Or leave with enough money to start over anywhere you want. No obligation. No debt. Just freedom. Oni's mind raced. This had to be a trick. A trap. Men like Minjun Park didn't offer freedom. They took and took until nothing remained. But as she looked into his eyes, she saw something unexpected. Respect. If I marry you, she said slowly, I won't be a pawn. I won't be invisible. I won't be what Patricia made me. No, Minjun agreed. You'll be dangerous. And if I want to find out the truth about my father, then we'll burn down whoever took him from you. Oni thought of her father. Thought of the years spent scrubbing floors and swallowing humiliation. Thought of Patricia's hands around her throat. She thought of the ocean outside the window, wild and free. I'll marry you, she said. Not because I have to. Because I choose to. Minjun's smile was slow and devastating. Then we have an agreement, Mrs. Park. He closed the distance between them, his hand cupping her face with surprising gentleness. May I? Oni nodded, and Minjun kissed her. Not the desperate kiss from the future boardroom, but something softer. A promise. A beginning. When they finally pulled apart, Oni was breathless. The wedding is in 3 days, Minjun said. Every major crime family in South Korea will attend. They'll see me in this wheelchair, and they'll see you as my bride. Let them think what they want. And after. His smile turned sharp. After, we show them what happens when the broken king stands up. The wedding was a spectacle. Traditional Korean ceremony mixed with the dangerous undercurrent of organized crime. Oni wore crimson and gold, and Minjun played his role perfectly, accepting congratulations from his wheelchair while his new bride stood at his side. Elder Choi, the head of the crime council, studied Oni with calculating eyes. She's different from the photos we were shown. My apologies, Jin Ho interjected smoothly. The Yudo family sent the wrong sister by mistake. But Minjun is satisfied with the arrangement. From his wheelchair, Minjun's hand found Oni's. He squeezed gently, and she squeezed back. The following weeks transformed Oni's life. Minjun kept his promise. He treated her as an equal, teaching her the business, introducing her to his network. She learned quickly, her father's business acumen awakening inside her. You have his mind, Minjun told her one evening as they reviewed shipping manifests. Your father could spot a discrepancy in seconds. You inherited that. They worked together, and slowly, Ani began to trust him. More than trust. The kisses became frequent. Stolen moments in his office, on the terrace overlooking the ocean, in the early morning hours when the estate slept. I'm falling for you, she whispered one night, her head on his chest. Good, Minjun murmured against her hair. Because I fell for you the moment you lifted that veil and didn't cower. But in Seoul, Patricia and Grace were drowning. The debt was cleared, yes, but they'd lost their allowance, their status, everything. They lived in a cramped apartment in Incheon, watching their former life slip away. Until Grace saw Ani's photo in a society magazine. Mystery Woman Claims Park Empire, the headline read. The photo showed Ani in a designer gown, dripping in diamonds, looking every inch a queen. Grace's scream shattered their small apartment. That should be me. I was supposed to marry him. Patricia snatched the magazine, her face going purple with rage. That ungrateful little witch. We saved her from the streets, and this is how she repays us. We have to destroy her, Grace hissed. Tell everyone she's a fraud. That she tricked Minjun. Patricia's eyes gleamed. The charity gala. Next week at the Lotte Hotel. Every important family will be there. We'll expose her in front of everyone. They didn't know Minjun had already anticipated their move. They'll come for you at the gala, he told Ani as they prepared. Are you ready? Ani looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was unrecognizable from the girl who'd scrubbed floors. This woman wore power like a second skin. I'm ready, she said. The gala was magnificent. Crystal chandeliers, designer gowns, South Korea's elite mixing with its most dangerous criminals. Ani entered on Minjun's arm, him still in his wheelchair, her in a crimson gown that made people stop and stare. She's stunning, someone whispered. Who is she really? I heard she's nobody. A servant who seduced him. The whispers didn't touch Ani anymore. She'd learned to wear them like armor. Then Patricia and Grace arrived. They'd crashed the event, dressed in their best remaining clothes, desperation making them bold. Patricia pushed through the crowd, Grace trailing behind. Stop! Patricia's voice rang out across the ballroom. This woman is an imposter. The room went silent. All eyes turned to them, then to Ani. She's not who she claims to be. Grace added, her voice shrill. She was our maid. She tricked the Park family. Elder Choi stepped forward, his face grave. Is this true? Ani felt Minjun's hand on hers, steady and sure. But she didn't need him to fight this battle. She stepped forward alone. Yes, she said clearly. I was their maid. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Patricia's face lit up with vicious triumph. I scrubbed their floors, Ani continued, her voice growing stronger. I cleaned their toilets. I was invisible in my own father's house because my stepmother decided I was worthless. She sold me like property to clear her debts. She turned to face Patricia and Grace directly. But Minjun Park saw what you refused to see. He saw strength, intelligence, loyalty, everything you lack. You're nothing. Patricia spat. You'll always be nothing. Wrong. Minjun's voice cut through the ballroom like a blade. Every head turned as he stood up from his wheelchair. Just stood up, tall and powerful, shedding 3 years of carefully maintained deception in a single moment. The collective gasp was deafening. Minjun crossed to Ani in 3 strides, his hand finding hers again. I've been walking this entire time. I needed to know who was loyal and who was waiting for weakness. You'd be surprised how many people failed that test. He turned to face the assembled crowd, his arm around Ani's waist. I chose this woman not because of obligation or deception, but because she survived what would have destroyed others. She's brilliant, fierce, and worth 10 of anyone who ever underestimated her. His eyes found Patricia. You sold your stepdaughter to save yourself from consequences you created. You got exactly what you deserved. Nothing. Security moved forward, but Patricia wasn't done. You'll regret this. Both of you. No, Ani said quietly. You will. As security escorted Patricia and Grace out, Elder Choi began to laugh. The Park family chooses well. Very well indeed. The room erupted in approval, fear, shock. But Ani only saw Min-jun. He pulled her close, kissing her in front of everyone, claiming her, choosing her, loving her. When they finally returned to the Busan estate, Ani stood on the terrace overlooking the ocean, Min-jun's arms wrapped around her from behind. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me when I was invisible. Min-jun turned her to face him, his hands framing her face. You were never invisible, Anifiak. You just needed someone brave enough to look. He kissed her again, deep and slow and full of promise. Ready to show this city how a king and queen really rule, he murmured against her lips. Ani smiled, fierce and free. Let's burn it down. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible tales of power, betrayal, and love that conquers all. And comment below where you're watching from. I want to know where my queens and kings are located. Your girl Anifiak just proved that the invisible daughter can become an unforgettable queen. Never let anyone make you small. Until next time, stay fierce.